remember every time I would fast, they had the Burger King commercial would air, and it was like $1.49 for like 10 chicken nuggets from Burger King, and it always looks always looks so good.
Oh my
When
gosh.
you're like 3 or 4 days into a fast, and you know you just keep getting food advertisements, it don't matter what that food is. It's like I
It
want that
looks so
right
good.
now.
It looks so
Yeah,
good, man. Dude, you
I've
remember the
never had.
time that we were both doing a 3-day fast and like on day 2 dude, we both like were sneaking into the kitchen trying
We
not to let
caught
the
each
other
other in
one
the
know.
kitchen.
Bro, that was insane. I was feeling guilty and I saw you. I was like, whatever, dude. Like, I don't this
That was
Hey,
so
I
bad.
was
I don't
cheating
even
with
listen.
yogurt. I was cheating with yogurt, okay? You had freaking
Oh, I went
chips.
all the way. I had like meat, cheese, chips. I had like a
Oh
whole
my God.
smorgasbord. Now listen. I think you're giving us too much credit. I don't even think we got to day 2. I think it was like night of day 1.
I think you're right. I think you're right. No, because it was like 36 hours or something like that, or like
Okay,
40
it may have been day
hours.
2. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
We
But I just
didn't
remember
finish
like
day 2.
I remember being like mid bite as you like rounded the corner of the kitchen.
Yeah. I was coming to grab something to eat too, though. It's freaking funny. Dude, like, fasting is tough for me, man. I'm just not good at it. Like, I definitely struggle in that area.
Yeah, no, it sucks. I'm there with you. Well, this'll work. Obviously, the viewers are gonna be a little upset.
Like I said, we're
Not
missing
getting to
out, man.
see Alan. I'm a little upset myself.
He's kind of the,
I'll appear periodically.
So I don't know. I texted this to Alan. I'm curious what your thought on this is, Sam. So first of all, you actually know this person. So she's been going to I was about to say Kingdom Encounter. That's not what it is anymore. Lion's Heart Ministries, my parents' church. She's been going there. She's from LCU. She was a year under us, year 1. Same name as my wife, Natalia. Reconnected with her at the church, and then she's been faithfully listening to our podcast and giving us notes. If you check out our Spotify, she's left like comments on everything. She's been very very supportive. So we really appreciate you. Regarding last episode, she said that she really enjoyed it. She said, "What do you think of this?" Let me read the text message. Okay. So she says, "What do you think about the term or phrase, if he wanted to, he would?"
Achoo.
So, bless you, Alan.
I
She,
feel like I need context here.
okay, so this has been big on like TikTok, social media, and it's like if a guy, pretty much in a relationship situation, like if a guy wanted to, he would do it. Like if he wanted to be more invested in the relationship, he would do X. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So she
Oh
says, "What do you think
boy.
of that term?"
Dude,
It's
that's
almost
so
better.
fun.
This is almost better. Have it out like this. In case I cut it, I do want to put this out there. Alan is in the McDonald's parking lot right now on their Wi-Fi, so that's
Do
why
what
we
you
don't
gotta
have.
do, brother.
That's right. So that's why we
Man.
don't have him
Do
in the
what you
studio
gotta
with us
do.
today. Anyway, she said, what do you think of the term, and do you think it aligns with biblical masculinity? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I would say that it just really depends. Like, you can always go to, like, men love your wives as Christ loved the church, right? So, like, I think if it's something that is coming from a place of love by both sides, whoever's expecting what, then I think it's great, right? I think, you know, if it's out of love, it should be. But, you know, it sounds like knowing that it's from social media, it could definitely be like manipulation. Like that's just what people do. It could be used as a manipulation tactic. So it just depends on the context, honestly. Like,
Yeah, That's exactly I
That's
mean, honest I gave her the exact same answer. I asked her, "Do you want us to talk about it in the next podcast, or do you just want me to shoot you my thoughts?" She's like, "Either way." So I was like, "We'll do both." So basically said the same thing, and what I said was, a lot of times we take we hide our true intentions behind things that sound good or are definitionally, like, good. So let me just read it because I write a lot better than I speak. She says, I think a lot of times we hide true intentions of our heart behind things that are not definitionally bad. Taking that phrase at face value, it's not a bad thing. If a guy wants a relationship, he will prioritize that. A woman should value themselves. One person should not be doing all the work in the relationship. Those things are all true, but I think phrases like that can be used to cover insecurity and manipulate.
dang,
For
dude.
example, I mean,
Oh my
that's the
Hey,
goodness.
same thing.
hey.
Whoa! Hey, hey.
Yeah. Uh, I'm gonna skip a little bit. So, we talked about toxic masculinity. I said I think it's kind of the same thing with that. Definitionally, I can't even say that word. Definitionally, it points out flaws like men being emotionally withdrawn and aggressive. Both of those are things that guys need to work on for sure, but it is often used to control and manipulate men and keep
Mm.
them passive. So, yeah, it's not yes or no. It's more case by case.
Yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure.
what's the intention? Is it trying to, you know, are you trying to value yourself and protect your heart and have equality in the relationship, or are you trying to manipulate? So,
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all about, like, where you're at, where the other person's at, it's case by case, for sure.
do you have any thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, I think for me, that's definitely like a generational term. I've never really heard that before, like until probably I was like kind of low key 18. Um, I don't know. I mean, I love I love what you said. Like, I think context is huge. Um, let's look at the context. Let's look at how this person behaves in the relationship day to day. Um, and then I think if you make observations that just like aren't good, I think that's then when you can kind of come in and be like, okay, what is this person, he or she, what is this person like really in this relationship for? So that's kind of my 2 cents at the moment. I'm sure I might have more to say later, but I think right now that's like immediately what comes to my mind.
For sure. What I like about starting where we're at and where it's just a few people following us, we got like 30 to maybe 40 people that kind of follow our content, at least that follow the Instagram page.
It's a lot more
Um,
than I thought.
yeah, no, yeah. So clearly,
It's funny.
clearly Sam doesn't keep up with our content either. So,
I don't. I'm not gonna lie. It's okay though.
but
It's okay.
what I like about it being small is if people have questions, you can respond, you can throw in the episode, you know. We kind of have that ability to do that right now. So, I talked to Alan about this last week, and it's like, listen, we need to start putting maybe polls or questions out on our Instagram page or socials, and have people ask stuff that we can respond to on the recording on the podcast.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
man, that's a great idea.
so Natalia, we appreciate you for listening and watching us faithfully. So hopefully that was some good wisdom from the fellas, from a fella's perspective.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and chime in on something if that's okay.
Brother, please.
All right. So let me get this ready. All right. So we have our first letter of the week in our email, and I have it printed out here. And I'm
We
definitely
got a
excited.
letter?
Uh, yeah, we got a letter. We got a letter, and I am so excited to share this. So here it is. Hang on, I'm flipping through pages. Okay, so I got it printed out. Okay, so here it is. It says here. It says, "Greetings. the Girded Loins podcast. My name is, oh, okay, so I'm looking at it here. They chose to remain anonymous, but they went on to say that, wow, what an exciting podcast. We really love when Sam speaks up. I think he's a very attractive young man, and he definitely really has a passion for the Lord. And oh my goodness, what does it say here? It says,
Bro, there's
um,
no way, bro. This is
I am a person who's considering a relationship, but when I hear Sam, oh, okay, no, that's not right. It says here, we are really big fans of what you guys are putting out, and we're so excited to continue to listen to the podcast and hear what Sam especially has to say because he's great. Hashtag faith-based, hashtag go Girded Loins podcast. Wow, that's like so fun. I'm so glad that we're getting that.
that's
I'm so
wild.
glad we got a letter that Alan definitely did not write.
No, I didn't say I wrote it. I said we got it.
Right.
Right. Wink, wink.
Uh,
Anyway, so
The
yeah,
Sam
how
mentions are kind of
exciting.
crazy.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, if it wasn't fake, I would, Oh man.
It sounds like I hope it's she. She's looking for a relationship there.
Hope it's a she, yeah. Okay, moving on. Alrighty. So, my first question to both of you guys is, what scriptures have y'all been reading this last week? Like, what area in scripture have you been reading? And what do you think the Lord's speaking to you on those scriptures?
That's a
Sheesh.
good question, Sam. Let me pull out the word here real quick.
I think I'll go ahead and answer while we wait for the esteemed Garrett to get his Bible out. But I think for me, lately, I have been reading Proverbs quite a bit. Most specifically, to answer your question, I am in Proverbs 18. I've really been chewing on that lately. Proverbs 18 has definitely been really good to read just because I relate to it a little bit in certain areas. And I think when we look at our struggles in life, it's kind of good to like go back and connect scripture to those things so we can like further avoid them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah. So specifically in chapter 18 of Proverbs, they're just like little segment verses that I've kind of stumbled upon um, that I think are really, really good. So like little individual verses. Um, I think the biggest one for me that I've kind of been meditating on is verse 21 out of 18. It says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." And I kind of like wrote under that, there's obviously like accountability in our words. What we say obviously is huge. If you look a little bit above that, it talks about, brothers being offended. It says a brother offended is harder to win than a strong city, and contentions are like the bars of a castle. So kind of been chewing on it. Really kind of just checking myself, being like, hey, like, am I speaking life? Am I being uplifting? Um, who am I offending? If I am offending, like, how am I going about that? How am I keeping myself accountable? So just things like that.
It's
Yeah,
awesome, dude. It's
it's really
awesome.
good. I think the verse that I feel like that's really been coming to me where it says, like, today is the day of salvation. Let me pull that up. I think it's in First or Second Corinthians 6 verse 9. Oh, it is 2 Corinthians 6, not verse 9. Verse 1 through 3. Working together with him, we also urge you not to receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, at the acceptable time I listened to you, and on the day of salvation I helped you. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation.
Sheesh.
It's good, man.
That's really good. And obviously there's context where, it meant a certain thing to who Paul is writing to, and that's important to know. but there's also like a self-application side to scripture as well, where it's important to know context, but it's great to see how it applies to you. And listen, I think for me, I tend to push stuff off. Put it ahead. Oh, I'll take care of that another time. Oh, I can read. I'll take care of that later. And it's like, no, no, no. Like, don't be putting off your relationship with the Lord. Like, today is the day of salvation. Like, we're not promised another day. It talks about
Amen.
in James. It talks about in James. It says, "What's your life? It's a vapor that appears for a short time and goes away."
It's
So
crazy to think about. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
like
That's scary.
Hallelujah.
we're not promised tomorrow. So hey, today's the day of salvation. Yeah, like it
Amen.
says, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts, as in the days of rebellion. So like, listen, today, make today count. Don't push anything off till tomorrow.
Amen. That's awesome, dude. I like that. So for me, I've been reading in Samuel. I've been looking for a good scripture header to put on the tattoo, with some artwork and stuff on my arm. And I've really been enjoying reading through Samuel. And I settled on 1 Samuel 3 chapter 3 verse like 7 through 10. I'm choosing 10 for the tattoo. But it blows me away how clearly Samuel hears God's voice, right? To where he goes to, what's his name? I'm blanking. Um, the old man prophet that his sons are, bad. Anyways, goes to
Eli,
him, Eli. Goes to Eli and thinks that it's Eli talking to him like 3 times in a row, right? That's insane. Like, you hearing God like you hear like a friend right next to you. And I was thinking about this. I was like, dude, that's literally still the Old Testament. Like, we have something so much greater now, So, like, I was just thinking the potential. I'm like, dude, this is awesome, and like wanting to get to the point to where I can hear the Lord's voice like that. So, yeah,
well, how do you think you need to get to that point? How do you hear the Lord more clearly in your life?
getting distractions out, um, putting time aside for Him, being still and quiet. I have sometimes I have real trouble being still. Like, I feel like I always got to be doing something. So that's especially with phones and computers and
Yeah.
technology, Wi-Fi. So, it's definitely not something necessarily to work for. It's just something you got to kind of learn how to do.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Like, it's super funny because Wednesdays are usually my off days, or no, excuse me, Fridays. Yeah, it was this last Friday. I was off this last Friday, and I live near just this ginormous lake, and like I kind of really relate to what you said, Sam. Of like, it's kind of hard to get still, at sometimes and really, chew on the Lord and take time to meditate on like who He is and all that stuff. And it's super funny, man, because Friday evening, it's almost kind of perfect how the lake over here is set up. It's Lake Lavon, but the sun, like literally the place where I view the sunset, it's like perfect alignment. And so I went out there a little early and I just like sat on a rock near the water's edge and really just tried to put like a huge emphasis on just being still and like thinking on the Lord. And I noticed like immediately when I did that, it's like the Spirit of the Lord just came and I was just like in awe and amazement. I was like looking like at the horizon and seeing like the sun kind of slowly setting and all that. And I saw the sky and I was like, man, like the master like created all this and it's like super super cool to sort of take that moment and really just be still and really just like some people might call it just staring at the sky, right? But it's like admiration almost and just like sitting there and just admiring the design of everything. So I really like what you said.
oh, yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean,
I love.
I think hearing God's voice is just so important, and that is what's going to get a lot of people out of their messes in today's world. So,
Yeah.
I'm the same way, Alan. I see the Lord a lot through nature. When you're cooped up in the house, I mean, some people are like, oh, I got a prayer closet. I don't care nothing about no closet.
Dude,
I love
if I got in my closet to pray, bro, I'd have neck problems.
if I go outside, that's where I see God, and I see the Lord, like you said, through the sunset, the sunrise, the trees, the grass. I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
I'm the same way. But for me, it's not so much being still. I can be still, no problem. It's getting quiet. And
Yeah.
I know that kind of means the same thing, but I just wanted to um
Be
I
more
wanted to
specific,
clarify.
yeah.
Yeah, be more
Yeah.
specific. I've definitely fallen into the trend nowadays where you always have to have some kind of noise playing.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I don't want to hear quiet. You always have to have something playing, whether it's a video, whether it's music, whether it's and that's not a good place to be. I mean, genuinely, that like you said, you got to eliminate distraction, and that is distraction, like 100% distraction.
Yeah.
So it's learning to okay, I got to get still. I got to get quiet. Let me turn off whatever I'm listening to. Let me turn off whatever I'm watching, and just okay, what are you saying, Lord? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you do that, like the Lord will honor it, you know. You're gonna get
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah. No, I definitely like that. I think to start, like for those who aren't in a good practice, it literally does feel like an act, like a big act. It's the action of sort of just stopping what you're doing, and it's the action of, posturing yourself or positioning yourself to go out. And,
100%.
I think ultimately, like, it's kind of fascinating because, like, I think I would say a big goal for all believers is definitely to, not like get to the point where it's not a task, it's a want to, it's not some sort of drudgery, it's a delight. Like, hey, I delight to go out and sit and look, at the horizon, or just, stuff like that. And I think to, add on to that even more, it definitely is like a generational struggle. I think a lot of this generation is going through, everybody's moving so fast. You know what I'm saying? Like it's rocket speed. Like it's like, hey, oh, I'm out of church. Hey, I got to go to the next thing, or hey, just got home from work. Oh, got to do the laundry. Got to do this. Got to do that. And I'm not saying any of that is not important, right? But it like I don't think there's anything wrong with just like slowing down, creating those intentional moments of, okay, hey, this can wait for 10 minutes. Like, let me go sit in His presence. Let me go do what I need to do with the Lord.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just being even busy. I think a lot of people, and I found myself in this place before, whenever you're in a place that you're maybe not close to God, maybe you're having a lot of struggles and difficulties. Quiet is pretty scary when you're not in a good place
It is.
because you're alone with your thoughts. You are alone with the voices. You are alone with all that stuff, and it can be scary to turn off all the noise around you and face that. Like that's a genuine thing.
Yeah.
And but like you said, it is an act. Do we want it to get to a place where it's natural and it's a desire? Yes, of course. But it's not going to be like that at first. I mean, there has to be some action that's put into it
Yeah.
to get
man,
to that point.
I'm telling you guys, sometimes I wake up, I might be have my coffee, and I'll just be sitting here and I'm like trying to be quiet, even just for like a minute. And all of a sudden, like I got like 10 things pop in my head. Like, what am I going to eat today? Like, oh, do I got to get gas on the way to work? This, that. Oh, I need to call this person. Like, it's insane. It's like bam, bam, bam. Like things just start popping in my head, and I start thinking about something else. And then 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It almost kind of shocks you when you sit back and realize, at least initially, kind of that beginning stage of like, yo, like, I kind of straight up struggle to be still with the Lord. Like, we gotta fine tune this. It
Hmm.
almost like fascinates you of like, man, like you look around with eyes to see, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, the world is just moving, 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 and it's like, oof, I don't want to miss what the Lord's doing in my daily rush. So, I like what you said.
Mm.
Yeah, and that what you mentioned there, I just immediately thought of that verse in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5, Looked it up. I didn't know the location. But it says, "We are destroying arguments and all arrogance raised against the knowledge of God. We are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ." And so, like you said, you may start trying to be intentional, to be quiet, to be still, and you have everything pop up. I got to do this. I got to do that. Something funny you thought of the other day, just the most
Dude.
random stuff,
Yes.
everything, and it all
Yep.
pops up, and it is an act to,
Pops up like
hey,
that, like Alan just popped up.
just
Yeah.
like that, and you have to be like, hey, no, like, put it out of your mind. Take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, just like Paul said.
That's good. That's a good way to look at that, dude. I never thought of it like that. I always thought that as like taking bad thoughts, not necessarily any thoughts. That's crazy.
And that's, I think it's a common way to read that, but it doesn't say bad thought. It says every thought.
That's true. That's crazy. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that in mind.
You know,
I need to
and
like
since we
write
are,
that. I need to write that in like a giant poster board, like right here.
yeah, listen,
Just,
and
yeah.
we are a digital generation. We do have like tablets, smartphones, and everything. The way I envision it, like in my mind, like I'm a visual person. So whenever I have like a thought that I literally just think of like me swiping it off the screen.
That's crazy, bro.
I mean, I know that's the most like Gen Z crap ever, but
Oh my gosh. Dude, I just act like I'm like shooting it or something. Like, da, da, da.
that's a lot more exciting.
Like blowing up the tomato can in my thought, you know.
See, and then I'd start thinking about explosions, and then I start thinking about guns.
Yeah.
It's a slippery
Maybe.
slope, my friend.
Exactly, dude. I'm telling you, man, it's because like we're all like our generation and even like the older generations now, dude, it's actually probably worse for the older generations because they're not like used to it. And it's like constant dopamine. It's like our
Yeah.
brains are so used to getting dopamine, and then when we don't get it, we start feeling depressed and feeling anxiety, and like it's just
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I
I know
think,
like a lot of older people that have phones, and like they get addicted to like these little stupid games, like and like spending money on it, and like they're just so addicted to like these older generations because like they're not used to it. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
it's funny you say that. Like, there's a book called The Anxious Generation. And basically, it's a real famous book because it kind of breaks down sort of the factors that like kind of sum up our current generation, the whole social media, idea, a lot of the things that we just talked about. I think it says here it's written by like Jonathan Haidt or something like that. Silent D T. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. It's like a tongue bath. But I think it's pretty interesting to sort of like this idea that like, okay, where is our generation heading? Like you see a lot of, the fixations on social media, kind of like what we talked about in the last episode, you know, to certain things like that. And it really sort of almost just makes you curious of like, hey, like if the moment that we exclude Jesus from the picture, we are going down this road of, a lot of things Sam just said, like anxiety, depression, whatever. And it's like we got to cling to Jesus. Like it just it almost inspires you with this sense of what some would call divine urgency to sort of make sure, that we're in the right place, that we're taking in the right stuff like we talked about in the last episode, if all that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, goes back to that verse I said. Today's the day of salvation.
That's right. That's right.
Like, don't. Hey, I'll get my crap together. I'm gonna do it at some point. Listen, if this is being brought up to you, if you feel this conviction in your heart to like, I need to make changes, start today. There's grace for it. Do it today.
That's right.
You see that I feel like going back to that too, there's like things that you can do also. Like, yes, always seek the Lord because the Lord can set you free, right? And he can help you with his grace. But there's also, I feel like, things that like take discipline that you can also do in your life as well. exercising, staying off the phone certain times, like eating right. You realize like what you eat can actually affect your thoughts, your brain, your everything. It affects literally everything but your spirit, man, because your soul is your brain, and like what I'm saying? So it's like watching what you eat, exercising, getting sunlight, socializing with people. Um, and then obviously number one would be to seek Jesus and to know him and let him give you his grace. So,
Yeah,
but
getting Garrett off the grape juice was such a trial, but praise
dude,
God.
I do love grape juice. Getting me off of milk would be a bigger feat, I think.
we might have to bring a cross and some holy water for that one.
Dude, I would probably cure cancer if I stopped drinking milk. Like I'd probably unlock all of my brain.
Mm. Sheesh.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
Samson,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you have for us.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, I've been living in anticipation all week.
Oh, all right.
He's
My
just
next
bringing hard-hitting questions, man.
Hey, the next question for you guys is, how do you navigate what God has for you as far as like your career and your calling goes? So, for instance, Garrett, you have a call of God on your life, right? That God has something for you, whether in ministry in some kind of way, that there's a big picture, right, that he sees for you. But in the same time, you have a wife that you need to support. So you need to have a job and you need money, right? So how do you
Dun, dun,
navigate?
dun.
And this is for you too, Alan, because I know that God has a call on your life as well. How do you navigate making money, having a career, but also knowing that there's something bigger, if that makes sense, or could be something bigger?
Well, Garrett, he was talking to you first, so I'll let you answer.
I was about to answer until you jumped in there, Alan. I think I'm putting a lot of money right now into Natalia's schooling so she can get a good career and I can be a stay-at-home husband. That's
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
goal.
That's a good.
More visits. Yes.
We're gonna up the podcast to 3 or 4 times a week. That's gonna be my main focus when Natalia's out working.
Mm.
Oh boy.
For real though, I think when you know you're called to something, I think, and this has a lot to do with our generation, with instant gratification, like you said, constant dopamine. We want to make stuff happen now. And so if hey, like I'm going to be, God's calling me into ministry. He wants me to be a pastor, a missionary. Then our nature, especially our generation, let's make it happen right now. And God's timing is not always right now.
True.
He moves a lot slower than we would like at times.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to slow down. We just talked about it. Get still. And okay, that may be the end goal. What are the steps I need to take to get there? What's the next thing? There's an old Rich Mullins song called "Sometimes by Step,"
Love it.
and he says, "Step by step, he leads me." I think if we had the full picture of what God was going to lead us through, it would scare the socks off of us. And so I think God is in his mercy sometimes only illuminates what's right in front of us. So what's the next step? What's the next step? Okay. Instead of, hey, we got to get to that. And something that the Lord really showed me a couple years back was a lot of times we think, oh, getting to heaven or getting to this position or getting to whatever, that's the goal. And we have to get to that destination. And with the Lord, I'd like to specify, with the Lord, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Mm.
It's about each and every day with you. Bobby Conner had this saying whenever he's preaching. He says, if God's ultimate goal was to get you from earth to heaven, he said we'd have 2 ministries on earth: evangelists and assassins. Like you get someone saved and someone come up and just shoot you. And so, it's funny, but it highlights a good point where, like, we're here for a reason, and heaven is great, and we can't wait for it. But like, there's stuff for us to do here, you know? And so it's about the journey with the Lord, and it's about spending each day with him. And you mentioned career stuff. As Christians, we can get very paralysis of analysis where,
Mm.
oh, if I don't pick the right thing, God's not in this. He's only in one place. Life is a 8-lane highway. Get in a lane and go. As long as you're with the Lord, like, you're gonna be fine.
Mm.
So, see if he has a spot for, if he has somewhere for you. And if you're not getting clarity, start moving in a direction. If you're
Yeah.
really seeking the Lord, if your goal is I want to be where the Lord wants me to be, he's not gonna let you mess it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
No, I'll kind of start off kind of how Garrett started. There's a song by our boy Rich Mullins. It says, "On the road to salvation, I stick out my thumb and he gives me a ride." So I'm kind of trying
It's
to
an
walk
incredible
that.
lyric.
I'm kind of trying to walk that road right now. And I mean, I'll be honest, and I think for those listening, like, this will be sort of an interesting perspective. I have no idea, like, what the Lord's calling is on my life, and I think, like, hey, it could come tomorrow. Hey, it could come, 5 months from now. I don't know. So I'm kind of trying to really position myself to, receive, kind of trying to get quiet, as we talked about, a few minutes ago. But I think for me, like, one of the biggest things, and I was talking to David, recently, Garrett, one of the biggest things for me that I think the Lord is calling me into in this season that I know for sure is just like this idea of, refining myself, obviously digging in the word to a whole new level, praying to a whole new level, mentally, spiritually, getting physically well, getting, in better shape. And I know that all kind of sounds like super cliche to a degree, but it's like I really think, there is power in that. And I just kind of think, like, right now, kind of the step by step statement made earlier, right? I think right now that's what I know I'm supposed to do. But I think, like, long term, big picture, the grand esque, if you will, I don't really have that answer right now. So
I think what's nice is you don't have to.
yeah.
Mm. See, like, for me, I feel like I've always been kind of like a go with the flow kind of guy. I'm just kind of going. Kind of, it's like getting in a boat and you're just kind of letting the current kind of take you down the river. Sometimes you're hitting bumps, sometimes it's chill. Um, but honestly, the other night I was laying in bed, like, halfway asleep, and this thought hit me, like, oh my gosh, I'm 25 years old. Like, it was crazy. I was like, dude, like, if you really think about it, I'm halfway to 50,
It's
and
so
50,
real.
dude, it
Bro,
was like,
don't say that.
I'm having
So
like,
Oh,
real.
I was like, at like, 1 o'clock in the morning having like a quarter life crisis here.
Mm.
And it was just crazy. And I was like, Lord, like, I don't have a career picked out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for you picked out. Like, or like, what's that looks like? Like, like right now I'm working a decent job, making decent money. I'm doing a little bit of ministry with, like, as far as worship and stuff musically.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what's next? Like, because I'm only getting older, like, time's flying now. Like, we're going to wake up and you're going to be 30 and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, so.
Dude, that's so real. Like, I literally think, like, 2 months ago, I was laying in bed, literally the same thing you just said. And I, like, stood up, looked at my hands, almost as if I'd come out of some sort of sickness or something. And I was like, in 4 years, I'm going to be 30 years old. Pause. What? It's like, oh, Lord, like, what? We better expedite this process, as they say in some
Yeah.
places. So,
See, and Garrett, you're a little ahead on us. You got at least one thing checked off, a wife.
yeah,
You might
Widge.
not have, like a career yet, or you got like one out of three things of,
Oh,
like,
trust me, he made
grown up
sure
stuff.
that was known. Episode 1. He said,
Yeah.
I'm the only one who's married in this group.
that's true.
And
That's
he,
true.
like, brush the dust off his shoulder. It's like, oh, come
Mm, mm.
What listen, as the only married guy in this podcast,
on.
no, seriously, this is a very important thing that I think it's important for people to know. Don't despise the mundane moments. Don't don't despise the mundane. God teaches us things in the mundane moments that we will need when it gets to the point where we are trying to get to, for lack of a better term. And you think about David before he gets to fight Goliath, he's just tending the sheep every day, and that's all he's doing. He's riding, and he's tending the sheep, and he fights the bear, he fights the lion, he's fighting off the predators, and it's what he learned in that seemingly unimportant season that prepared him for his fight. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
don't despise the now, don't despise the mundane. There's important things that we're picking up here that we're going to use down the road.
No, no,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Like, I think it's more of just like a realizing that time's flying now. But honestly, like let's say for instance, 3 years go by, I'm still working just whatever kind of job, not going, not in ministry, and then still single. And then all of a sudden, the Lord's like opens up this crazy door to go on like this music, like this worship music trip, and I go on this trip, and the first thing that happens is I meet my future wife. And the next thing that happens is businessman gives me like a job and like I have a career. Like the Lord can do stuff fast. Like he could do stuff like bam, like all at once. And I know he could bring it together. It's just more so like just pondering, like, my goodness, time's flying. And,
Oh, listen,
before we
I'm
know it,
not.
we're getting older.
I turned 26 in June. I'm not going to be okay. I'm
Yeah.
26.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
club, brother.
And it's crazy. I remember when I was a little kid, I used to be so excited to be like a grown up because I'm like, oh, I get to like do this and do that, and make my own decisions. Dude, it sucks. I wish I was a kid, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Being a kid was the bomb, man.
Dude, it was so
Yeah.
good.
When you had
But
no
you know what?
responsibilities, you just like get out of school for the summer, you wake up, and you don't have anything on the agenda. You just sit. Like for me, I would turn on either some music. I used to listen to a lot of DC Talk at the time, or like Newsboys, like old school Newsboys with Peter Furler. Either that, or I listened to like Adventures in Odyssey. I'd sit on my floor while I'm listening to that, dump my Legos all over the floor, and just build Legos all day. That was it, and that was I would kill for that right now.
Man, that sounds relaxing. Well, anyways, going back to, we were just talking about you getting married. I have a legit marriage question for you, Garrett.
Oh boy.
I know that you're coming up on 6 months on your marriage. Okay.
Oh, that's crazy! I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Time's flying, my guy.
Don't let Natalia
So-
hear you saying that.
And it might be you might be able to answer like extremely quickly. You might have a decent like amount to say about it. But what is your relationship with the Lord like since getting married? Like, is there any kind of dynamic that Natalia brought or like into like your situation and like your time with the Lord and like the way you interact with the Lord, or is it just kind of stayed the same? Like, how does that look?
That is a brilliant question. Genuinely, that is such a good question. Wow. It does change. I would liken it to whenever, you move out of the house for the first time and, your relationship with your mom and dad changes. They're still
Okay.
mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just different. So the relationship changes, but it's still really good. You become a lot less selfish when you get married, if you're doing it right. I think we all have, I think we're all selfish to a degree, and we don't. I didn't realize it until I got married. I'm like, wow, a lot of this needs to go.
I
It's
kind
crazy.
of noticed it when we were roommates, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
The marriage itself is purifying. You see stuff in yourself that you didn't see before, and your prayers become a lot more selfless. Where it's, Lord, make me who I need to be for her,
Mm,
not just for me, but this is for other people. Like, make me who I need to be for
That's
her,
good.
for the sake of our marriage.
That's really
So,
good.
concluding, it just there's a lot more weight of responsibility, and it really exposes the true content of your heart, and it forces you to change.
That's good. Yeah. That's beautiful, bro. It's good though. I like that. I like that. Um, yeah, I was just kind of curious, I don't think I've ever asked like a married couple. Plus, like, it's nice you're so fresh into it, like you're like long enough into where but it hasn't been too long to where you forgot, of like before and after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of growth that I feel like still needs to happen,
Hey man,
but
you're on the journey, man. It's all about the journey, not the destination,
it's
bro.
about the journey. That's right.
Oh man. Well, Alan, I don't really have a marriage question for you, to like make it even. So I'll just ask you, what is the most important quality of the woman of God that you think God has for you?
Oh, Shekinah glory. Oh my goodness. Um,
Alan, take us through your relationship history while you're at it.
Yeah.
you know what? Something I'll say about that. Look, there have been times where I've probably dated the wrong person, you know, like 100%, you know, and I think it's almost an interesting like flip of the script, right? Because the last person I dated was, peak, obviously, but, through the experience, I wasn't ready, and I think, that definitely became evident. But I think one thing I'll say to kind of what you said, and I know we joke around and it's good to joke, but I think one thing that the Lord has taught me is, hey, like it's a learning experience. Dating is not easy. Like I'm here to say that dating is not easy. Like part of it should be, of course, like part of it shouldn't be, sort of this chore or whatever, but there are certain parts of it that, are difficult. And, you know, obviously if you date to marry, like it's, you're not just going to find Mrs. Right, around the corner, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's kind of what I believe. Obviously someone might come in and be like, well, this and this, and it's an interesting discussion, But to answer your question, Sam, I think one of the biggest things that, you know, a woman could have that would be huge for me is just, a couple things that I could easily list. But I think the chief thing is kind of just like a fire for Jesus, you know, like I know that's probably super self-explanatory, but I think, I think kind of what I mean when I say that is like I want to date somebody who's, not afraid to, obviously get in the word with me and obviously not afraid to, you know, just talk about the Lord like day in and day out, and I know that sounds like super simple, but like at the same time, like that would just mean, everything like to me,
Hmm.
you know, and, Garrett, you gave me a word a little while ago that I've really clinged to, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, I think like you said, I see that soon you're just going to be like a man on fire for the Lord or something like that. You said something along those lines. I'm trying to remember specifically what you
I don't even
said, but
remember, dude. I remember
yeah,
saying something to you. I don't remember what it was.
yeah, I was when you visited Lion's Heart a couple Sundays ago, but anyway, to kind of wrap this up, I think for me, like someone who wants to join me in that fire, somebody who wants to walk with me in fire and just be on fire for the Lord. And um, here's the chief statement. If you haven't heard anything by now, hear this. I want to date somebody and eventually marry somebody that's going to help get me to heaven. And I guess what I mean when I say that is somebody who's going to keep me accountable. Somebody who's going to come in and be like, "Hey, like you're kind of goofing up here. Like let's refocus." You know, and
Someone who gets the best out of you.
someone who gets the best out of me, yeah, who's going to keep me accountable. So that I can take the next level. One thing I plan on doing on my next date, and I heard this from Jace Robertson. This isn't original to me, but I found it super fascinating. He said when he was dating, like after he had gotten to where he was with the Lord and he started dating, um, when he would pick the girl up, one of the first things that he would do after courting them a while, they'd go on their first date. One of the things that he would do is he would put like a Bible on the console in between, you know, him and that person. And he'd be like, "Hey, this is what I'm about. Um, you know, I love the good book." And basically he said, you know, I want to, you know, date like based off of the principles of what the Bible says, and I want to honor the Lord in all I do. And I remember hearing that from him, and I was like, "Whoa, like, that's kind of fire." You know, like I love that. Just like that, and even like the physical Bible being there, you know, it sort of creates a life gate in a way. And it's like, hey, are you going to walk with me through this life gate, and are we going to date and date well and all these things, you know, or are we going to stray away? And if we're going to stray away, then I don't want to be a part of that, you know. And I just love like that
Yeah.
principle, you know, because like you're keeping the main thing. You're standing on business, and you're keeping Jesus at the center of it all. So that's probably what I'd say to you, as long-winded as that was.
Sam
It's good.
prophesied to him on when he will meet his wife.
No. Tomorrow. Just kidding. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all of my questions. So yeah.
You brought some good ones, man.
Yeah. I wanted to have a lot more, and I wanted, dude, I couldn't decide. Like, I wanted to do a segment called like out of pocket question. You know, it was me like the last question of the video or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't decide on one this week. You know, I kind of put it off a little bit, but I think next time I'm gonna have something crazy.
Having it set up this way where it's questions, and I think it has a better flow, like a really nice flow. So
Yeah. I kind of still feel like, all right, today felt less like we're talking to the camera. Like I'm like learning stuff, especially I don't know Alan that good. So I'm like learning stuff about him. Kind of
yeah,
how he thinks, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we said at the end of both episodes last time, it can only go up from here.
Maybe I'll go. Actually, yeah. I mean, I felt great today. Usually, this is definitely by far the most I've talked, although I'm leading it. But overall, really enjoyed it.
Well, the anonymous woman who sent sent some mail to the podcast inbox is probably certainly glad that you led this episode.
You know, I'm glad I could help her out. You know,
Secret admirer.
Mm.
She would have crashed out if your camera was off.
Got boycotted over here.
Probably would have blocked the user on Spotify or something.
Viewership would have just plummeted. We all like Sam episodes.